Good day, and welcome to the Ram Ashram Satsang Weekend Workshop, where in under 1 hour, you'll learn a modern satsang technique for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Eddie. I've been practicing satsang for over 10 years, and today I will introduce the event's facilitator. But first, I'd like to give a brief introduction to this weekend workshop. If you'll direct your attention toward your screen, you'll see the first element, satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we can obtain peace, light, and love in our lives. No prior spiritual accomplishment, no special physical ability, nor is any prior experience in meditation required to begin its practice. Satsang consists of two words, sat and sang. Sat means positive energy, and sang means to be in the presence of or to be with. So the word satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element, meditation. Meditation is an important element of satsang. When we meditate, we direct our consciousness from the worldly objects inwardly to a single thought, whereby our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure. Only then can we begin the transcendental ascent to higher states of consciousness where we can obtain peace, light, and love and enlightenment. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsang, outer satsang and inner satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending a pilgrimage. Through the practice of outer satsang, our behavior can become modified. But only through the practice of inner satsang can we achieve those higher states of consciousness and obtain enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The satsang that you will learn today is an inner satsang, whereby we meditate in silence. Group session. Today's event is structured for group meditation and group participation. When we meditate in a group, our focus is increased and our path along our spiritual ascent is expedited. When you attend these weekend workshops regularly, the effects of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All souls wish to achieve joy and experience it. Through the practice of meditation, our inner happiness increases continuously, ultimately culminating in a state of joy. In such a state, we experience deep peace, but only through the practice of inner satsang can the state of joy be achieved, in which case we experience it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Today's session. Today's session consists of three sessions, the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given on a satsang topic, possibly a lecture about the founder or some related spiritual topic. In the practice session, instruction will be given on how to meditate, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions or there'll be group participation. And now I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He was born into a satsang family and he traveled throughout India at a very early age, helping to spread satsang. Upon arriving to the United States, both he and his wife began to teach satsang or hold satsang for satsangis, later spreading that and making it available to Westerners through his innovations. It has now become uh, more accessible. Um, in 2005, he began to conduct online satsangs. whereby people from all over the world, including the remote sections of India, were able to participate. He currently travels throughout both the United States and India, conducting satsang while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a satsang technique that was taught by Guru Maharaj. It is a rare form of satsang, and we will learn it today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So thanks, Eddie, and happy Saturday, everyone. You know, welcome to another satsang session where I think, as Sat Sang means, let's be with the most positive energy that we can manifest. So for next hour or so, let's just surround ourselves with this collective energy of the group, as well as within and outside, think that we have the presence of enormously positive, very, very potent and powerful energy that's uplifting us, and that's the essence of satsang. And what I was thinking was that satsang essentially, takes us, just by virtue of being in satsang, it is an uplifting experience. And so, we were talking about last session, we were talking about the, you know, inner peace and hurdles to inner peace. And, when there is a barrage of, negative energy because of inner or outer situations. So I think in a lot of people ask questions around you know situations we are in, people we are surrounded by that are affecting our inner peace because they have a very negative impact on our inner peace. But I very strongly feel that you know it's the outer events and outer situations, how we react to it is within us. And not only that, I think there are inner thought processes and which get triggered because of something or the other, and those triggers cause the real harm. So it's not just the outer situation, it's the inner engineering, the inner reactions, the inner impact that actually causes the real impact. So and here the thing is like how we are reacting. It goes back to our discussions on the pyramid that we could be in any one of the five layers, and how we react is absolutely and totally related to where we are at that moment and at that time. Because I think one question a while back was asked that if we are, we can achieve, let's say, the fourth level, which is pretty high. The fourth level doesn't mean that the person stays in that level all the time. So where we are internally is directly related to how we will react to a situation. So sustaining ourselves at higher levels of consciousness, higher level of awareness is the key. And so how do we do that? And satsang is, as according to Guru Maharaj, is the easiest way that we can sustain ourselves at higher levels for so initially during the meditation, but then it slowly permeates through the rest of our hours during the day and night. So so basically, I think one of the things that I'm still, as usual, I think I continue to write these things, but at a very slow pace, it seems. So, so one thing is that the thought process has its own, its own strength. So if our mind catches on a negative or something that is pulling us down, how do we get rid of that? How do we conquer that? So then, so on Tuesday we were talking about Guru Maharaj talks about like three things. So one thing is, differentiate between the so meditation is dharana and dhyan. So we start with manifesting something, imagining something, so just because we say that, okay, we are surrounded by this transcendental energy, doesn't mean that that's becoming a reality for us, right? So at that point, we're trying to concentrate, trying to manifest, but then slowly it becomes deeper. And then, what we were trying to manifest also goes away. So in the deeper meditation, what we were trying to manifest also fades away. So these are two stages, concentration and meditation, he differentiates. And what we are doing here is that, we might be thinking about a lot of things, we have a lot of things going around us, but for this moment, before, when we go into meditation, we want to manifest this almost like, we want to create, what he says is like you create a canal, you create a flow towards something else. And my father used to say that we want to create a dam on a river. We first create a canal, the water starts flowing there. You create the dam, and then you close the canal. So, what that means in the context of the meditation we do is that we first come from the barrage of thoughts, negative, positive, and all that. We want to come to one thought, and which is what we want to manifest, which is what we want to concentrate on. So, from multitude of thoughts to one thought, that's step one. And then giving up even that, because in deeper meditation, we forget who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. So that's like the deeper meditation, and we need to get to that point. So he describes that as the first step, but then, you know, he says that a lot of people find that there is something going on at work, there is something going on in relationships, there is something going on around which catches hold of our, mind in a way that the mind gets consumed with it. So then he says that there are two other things. Which are kind of related, but he talks about like, so if you are getting impacted by something which you don't like, he says the first step that Maharishi Patanjali talks about is vitark badhane pratipaksh bhavanam, which is, you know, just take the opposite end of the spectrum. So if negative thing is consuming you, is there is an attack, just take the complete opposite. the most positive thing that you can think of, replace, you know, that thought process with a opposite thought process. And because what he says is that when you fight and interact with this force, the action reaction, so the more force you apply, the reaction is, your mind even comes at you. So he says, just think about the opposite thing, and just switch over, like, instead of thinking that you're drowning, you start thinking you are on the beach and enjoying this sunny weather or something. I'm just saying that lightly, but so thinking about something completely opposite, that he says, would be one thing. But then, if that is not possible, then he says, so on one end he was saying that, like, he was applying this to a more practical situation where somebody is impacting you very negatively. And so opposite thought would be, like, instead of thinking about the negative qualities of that person, start thinking about the positive qualities of that person. But then he says, like, okay, so that may not be, in some cases, would not apply, and would be very difficult. So if it becomes very difficult, you know, then he says that ignoring that stream, and he agrees that ignoring may be equally difficult, because that's like all consuming. But he says that if you try, you keep doing what you're doing, get busy with something else and completely ignore that, thought process. So either replace it with a completely opposite and, positive thought process, or replace it, uh, you know, instead of replacing. So don't fight. He says, don't fight. Just either replace it or ignore it. And in he says that if you try to ignore, it will be difficult initially, but if you, that's again like a little bit of getting acclimatized to that process. And he says if you do that for a few days, then actually you get the hang of it and you can effectively do that. So this was how he was talking about, how to keep your inner peace intact. But at the end of the day, I think what I found was that some of these people had the effect of their presence, uh, which would do, either of those things, in a way that, at least for that time when you're with them, these things don't attack you at all. So it's fascinating that way. But anyway, so you know, but what I felt was that, if either, you know you find a positive person and be with them, that's satsang, or you try this technique of replacing the negative with positive, that's one way, or you ignore. But the way we meditate here is the first one. What we do is just completely ignore, forget, and just take a break from all good or bad thoughts, and we just focus on making ourselves positive. But I think what we need to understand is that trying versus getting there. Because if you actually are getting to a point where you are in deep meditation, where you have actually, lost track of who I am, where I am, what I'm trying to manifest, that is when this thing really takes effect. So everything that we do, including, talk about these things, leverage music, leverage prayers, uh, you know, and other things, it's all to get to that point where, you know, we completely ignore what is happening around us. Not just ignore, because ignore word, I think the connotation is that you still are kind of aware of the existence of what we're trying to ignore. Even that is gone. And then we think about this positive thing. That's all we want to think about. That's all we have around us. And then we go deeper with that thought process and even lose that. So that's what deep meditation is all about. First, replace the negative with the positive, and then dissolve even that to a state of complete, deep meditation where there is no thought, there is no, even the subconscious mind, goes quiet, and that's when samadhi or higher consciousness happens. But none of these things would happen if we keep talking about it. So let's practice it. Practice, 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 and yeah, let's get into it. So we will sit in a relaxed posture so that body doesn't move, because body movement actually affects our mind. The tension goes there. We don't want that. Eyes lightly closed for the same reason. And let's just focus on this transcendental energy in form of light in front of us that's entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming one with this light. This energy is what we are becoming. We are integrating and then dissolving into it. So we become the energy. And when mind wanders away and we realize that, bring it back to this thought and this thought alone, that we are in surrounded by this amazingly positive and potent transcendental energy that's in front of us in form of light. And that light is entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming one with this light. Let's start now. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hi, Liz, Eddie, Arvinji, Shivangi, Warren, Ajita, and everybody else, Atharv. So, how are we doing?
Happy Saturday, everyone.
Hello, hello.
It's so great to see you all, my favorite meditation crew, my beautiful meditation friends. um, Let me put on the video, which I rarely do, but give a bit more presence here today. It's really nice to see everyone. Yes, as always, I enjoyed that meditation. It was very good. Um, And I'm still digesting some things that you said prior to the meditation. They're very relevant to some things that I'm kind of not personally, but friends of mine are experiencing. I have one friend who has really went through multiple rough patches this year. Very, very serious kinds of things that have happened to him, and he is just very, very down. And if truth be told, I mean, I don't want to put a Debbie Downer, but I'm afraid for his mental health, let's just say that. um and so these kinds of, what you said, I'm still piecing it together, I'm still digesting it, kind of, because I think it's true. I think, one way to um, fight that battle is to infuse positivity and love, and if all else fails, try to put your mind on something else. But I think for some people it's difficult. But I try to do that. I've been lucky enough. There are times when maybe I can't, and for a day, but afterwards, I try to do it. For instance, personal anecdote, in my job is generally good. It's very stressful, but the people above me are very stressed out. I mean, and sometimes that affects their communication with the staff, communications with their team. And, one in particular is she has a way of speaking to people, and it's made her unpopular. And so I've heard all these terrible things about her. I've had some experiences with her where she's just snippy. But for my own mental health, I sort of said, no, I don't want to think of it like this. And one day when I saw her at the office, I had noticed she had a pet that she loved very much, which is, so interesting somehow, like how people could be kinder to their pets than to people. But I saw visibly how much care she was giving to that dog, and I love pets. And so one day when I saw her at work, I was like, "Hey, I noticed that you had a dog." And she just opened up and like talked about the dog at length, and the two dogs, and showed me pictures. And you know, it was so nice to see that side of her. Um and she's still snippy. It's not like that has changed, but it's for my own mental well-being, like it's nice to know that she has that side.
Yeah.
So, anyway, my 2 cents.
No, it's absolutely true. I think, you know, um, I have also seen like, I mean, there was somebody I was working for whom I would find very hard to find like good ways to, characterize that person. But still, like when even in their insecurities, for example, I find the strengths that they display in terms of like they overdo the defense that they pull together because they're so insecure. But then I'm like, I wouldn't go that far to secure myself. I mean, the effort, that amount of time and work that they're putting in, I mean, that's incredible. um, so it's a flip side of looking at you know but yeah, it's see, I find like interestingly, like people situations are the so I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but what I find is like, so um, when my youngest got asthma, the doctor said that we can't cure it, but we can manage it. And the way that was said, it was like, it's like there is no solution, but it can be managed. And the better you manage, the lesser and lesser the side effects and all the challenges become. So then I somehow always apply that to people's situations. A lot of times there are no, but like, I wouldn't say like there is no solution, but it's like changing behavior and all that is like uh, the solution may not be in your control, but managing it can be. And managing it from your reaction perspective, managing it from how you interact, how you communicate, how you. Um, so there are several ways in which you can manage it. So it's I think somewhere else, Guru Maharaj actually talks about how. So somebody asked him that, this person is very close and doesn't believe in meditation and satsang. What do I do? And I always feel that blah, blah, blah. So he said that, uh, it- it's like when you sit in meditation, when you see all these positive rays coming at you, um, just put that other person with you, or imagine that they are sitting with you and those rays are going to them as well. And that could apply to this other person you're talking about. So when you meditate, um, you know, those rays that you're receiving, imagine that the other person is receiving too. And that, he says, is a very effective tool. Um, and basically what he was saying was that, when you see that the behavior is not changing or something is happening, you know sending some positive waves, positive vibes, positive energy, uh, in whichever form you feel you can. So that's one way. The second way is that um, you know, um, it's like if you feel that negative energy is coming at you from some person, uh, then, uh, so there are two other things that he said. Like, this is like, taking the high road, right? I mean, even if the person is negative, try to send them positive. That will be like really taking the high road. The two other things that he talked about was, if you can, um, you know, um, like think um, in terms of, you know, how this person. Uh, y- so So almost like uh, think about the positive side as we were talking about, right? So instead of thinking the negative aspects, like uh, think about the positive so that you feel more positive about that person. And then the third one is ignore, become neutral. That's what he would say. So, so neutral that, because see, there are lots of negative people out there, they don't affect you that much or not at all, because you don't relate to them, you don't receive anything from them, you don't, it's like they don't exist, right? It's the people who you react with that are negative would affect you. So if you become neutral, then it's almost like the rest of the stuff that you ignore in the world, you ignore this one too. So either send positive vibes or think positively of the person, or, neutrality. So, yeah. I mean, and I think these are very simple and pretty, I mean, they can be very effective techniques. Oh. So Shivangi, you have a question on your face, seems like. You are muted, or I can't hear you. Arvindji, while Shivangi figures out the audio, maybe you have to disconnect and connect back. How are you?
Namaskar, Bhaiya. I'm well. And happy Saturday to everybody. Yeah, um, just the thought came that satsang, the positive energy, and trying to surrender to the positive energy or being close to the positive energy almost is like dampening the extreme oscillations of life, brings the bell-shaped Gaussian distribution to the median more. Perhaps that's the thought that came, and the other thought that came is Guru Maharaj is the power of Guru Maharaj is like the energy in a smelter, metal smelter. You smelt, impurities from a metal go away, um, and the metal gets purer and purer, perhaps through surrendering to that energy, to that smelter. So just those thoughts. Just glad to be here.
Yeah, and talking about situations and negative, things that we all have to deal with in some way, shape, or form. Uh, you know, uh, I mean, right here, right now, we have plenty going on, right?
You bet. You bet.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's like we all have to deal with the inner demons, the outer situations, and so on, so on, so on. So, um, keeping yourself above the physical, mental, and spiritual challenges that come at us, I mean, almost in a nonstop way. I think that's the need, and that's the significance of being in satsang. It's like, it's you have to be regularly doing this cleansing or smeltering or whatever. It's a constant need.
Just fortunate to be part of it.
So Shivangi, are you back?
Yes. Can
All
you hear
right.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've been having a really good discussion, what you described before the session, before the meditation session, and even now. Now, my question is, what if it's just the negativity around you, and you're I'm like as a satsangi, you are exercising all the tools and techniques that we learn here, but the negativity just goes on and on and on. Like it just, like there's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, this is real. Once I was caught up in one of those vicious cycles, and it was pulling me down in so many ways. So I called my mother, who herself had, she was the simplest person I know. Simplest. I mean, uh, I think simple could be defined with her. And and so uh, it was like, she said to me that, these are like clouds. The clouds will fade away, and sun will show up again. And these things continued for months and months, and probably even maybe it turned into years. And I was wondering, what kind of clouds are these? you know um, so what I have found, though, is no situation in this world is permanent. We are not permanent, and hence all the situations we deal with it in so many ways is not permanent. um, but sometimes even going through the day becomes difficult, and then weeks, and then months. So the thing is that this whole thing about looking at it differently, or finding the opposite way of describing something, or opposite way of looking at it. um, so instead of saying that it is challenging, sometimes I say that, I mean, like, I'll give you a real example. So, you know like, dealing with the difficult bosses, or seniors, or colleagues, uh, but the thing is that at that moment it's like so difficult. But when I look back, I have had so many jobs, and most of those people who are so hard to deal with, I don't even remember now. And I seriously don't remember. So, what was so tough to deal that day, 10 years later, would not be a like positive, negative, or neutral level. Like, I have no recollection of any of that. Some might stick, but that is, I think, my own, uh, like, something that, if there is something that it doesn't add value, why am I remembering it? Right? I mean, why should I remember something that pulls me down? I would rather remember something that pulls me up, right? Um, and it is fascinating, actually. And just to say that, how and I know we have some workaholics here, including me. I have at least two um, bouts with that, and I had some very interesting side effects. But so one day, and this is when I was in New Jersey, I had a very, you know, several responsibilities which had, like, I mean, anything breaks, then it escalates to you, and so on and so forth. So I was like working like a 24/7 almost. And at that time, I was so excited. I was so into it. And I was like, without me, this project will not go anywhere. Right? I am so important. And so I was just working and working. And my wife was like, "Are you gone insane or something? What's wrong with you?" Um, and then what happened? I caught some, you know, viral infection happened and caught some bug, and it knocked me out. It was so bad that for a week I literally couldn't do anything. And I just had to like stop that. And and 1 week later, everything was humming in the project. And I'm like, I thought all of this will come to a, grinding halt if I wasn't in this mode of like overworking. And I didn't work at all for a week, and the entire thing was just humming. So sometimes we just take on, and this probably applies to our negative situations, applies a lot more broadly if we just make this a little more generic. I think we are caught up in a vicious cycle. Um, it's us. And, you know, anyway, I think I went on a segue as usual, Shivangi.
No worries. I think if I can see the relevance of what you were describing. So thank you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, don't try to cure what you cannot, right? Uh, but again, I mean, we already talked about you can send positive energy, you can look at the person's positive side or the situation's positive side, or you can become neutral. Um, Depends, right? And there might be other things you can do as well. To me, one thing which I find useful sometimes. So interestingly, in India, when a music concert happens, the musician actually takes a cloth with them. It's like almost like um, a shawl, or it's almost like, something you put on, you know, and somebody told me that that cloth, which is, um, you know, it's like a covering of positive energy, or it's like almost like a shield that will shield you from. So there are like thousands of people in your music concert. What kind of energy will come at you? You don't know, you have no control. So you take a positive shield. And this is, I mean, I didn't know, somebody told me that, and most of the musicians in India do that. Like, So if I think about satsang, and if I think about a shield, we all need a shield. We all need a shield. So either you make your inner self so strong uh, that uh, you know uh, nothing, you become a Teflon. I think Eddie talked about that. And you're so positive that negativity doesn't affect you at all. or you create a shield. That's your defense mechanism. And actually, Guru Maharaj has talked about this in several different contexts. So he said that, uh, somebody was going somewhere and was feeling that he's getting affected by the negative energy. He said, okay, just keep me with you, or when you interact with the person, keep me in the middle. So basically, what he is saying is that if you have a more stronger, more positive energy between the negative energy and you, that becomes the shield. So you can do that too. So I would like to be shielded from the negative energy. I mean, at all times. So just figure out what that shield is. That could be, I think in satsang, all we do is that imbibe so much positive energy that we then eventually splash. Everybody around us gets that splash. Anyway, on that note, anything else, Eddie or Liz, before we wrap up?
I did want to just quickly say something. I was watching the news this past week, and they had featured like an author who wrote this book. It's going to sound so campy. It's Manifest 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life, by Roxy Nafusi. I think she's British. And at first I was like, okay, let's see what she's gonna say. Everyone's trying to make a buck on this. But what she actually said was pretty good, and it made me think, oh, she's probably got it, I think. But she said something about how something that helps is to have gratitude.
Mhm.
And in terms of when you're going through something bad, which can be difficult actually, if everything is going bad in your life and it's hard to have gratitude
Mhm.
within your personal sphere. But what I liked that she said was, when even everything in your life is going bad and you can't find anything to be grateful for because it's just not really good right now, be grateful. Try to practice gratitude for the universe. Like, hey, this is a beautiful tree in front of me right now, and I love the leaves. I know that sounds really like,
No, it's good. Yeah,
but
I
it's
love that.
pretty powerful. I think that if you can get there, it works.
Yep. See, this is exactly the second point, where instead of picking the negative and fighting with it, take something positive. It could be the tree, it could be the air we breathe. It's like the surroundings we have, or the pet, So something positive to replace the negative, right? Absolutely. And gratitude is such a positive, thing. It can do wonders. I mean, replace your anger, replace your envy, replace your, with gratitude. I mean, amazing things would happen. So, Eddie, you have been quiet today.
Yeah, I'm like a mouse today. But I just wanted, in closing, I just wanted to add to what you and Arvinji was saying about satsang and the power of satsang. People in this world they want to have a peaceful life, but they seem to be more entertained by conflict, right? And so
Mm.
it's captured on video and shared online, and people watch it and they comment on it, and it's become a way of life. And the reason for that is because they don't really know any better. They don't know what peace is. They never experienced it, and so I thought it might be analogous to someone being raised in the jungle, and they have to do everything by hand, right? They have to fetch water. They have to build their huts. They have to fetch their own food and cook it every day and every evening. and that's all they know. So that's their life, right? Um, and it's arduous work. But then comes along uh, a person called Satsang, and then they take them into sort of a modern world where you can go to the grocery store, put items in your cart, bring them home, cook them in a oven or on a nice stove where you don't have to start a fire. You just you turn the switch, and you can receive medical attention from a hospital. You can call a restaurant to bring you food. There's a machine to wash your clothes. And so once they experience that, who wants to go back to the jungle? But because of that ignorance of not knowing that there was an alternative, they were happy living in the arduous condition. And I wouldn't say misery, but I don't know, that might not be the nice word, but it's sort of a miserable condition. But when they see that there's an alternative, then their attitudes change and they try to change their behavior as well. And so I think satsang is that. That is the power to change someone, to bring in that light gradually, so that someone can see that, hey, peace is out there. There's an alternative to this life that I'm living and this conflict that I'm living in. And satsang does that. And so I just wanted to just sort of add on to what you and RBG was saying about the power of satsang.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as I have mentioned several times, like one of the reasons why I feel that this is something that I want to share with people is that I saw so many uh, in my lifetime who either achieved inner peace or that pursuit was like so effective and so close to the destination um, that it was very uncommon. And I find that it's almost like a miracle that I have seen those people, so many of those people who actually were more at peace than we are. And that is something that I think drives me. It's like, yes, we can. Yes, we can. All right. On that note, happy Saturday and happy week ahead, and hope to see you all very soon. Have a good one. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
Have a good week.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Sanjeev ji.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Good day.
Thank
Namaste,
you.
Hari.
Thank you.
Namaste, everyone.
All right.
Have a good
Take care.
weekend.
You too.